Let's move on. Anthony DePaul, Senior Private Client Advisor, Atlantic Pacific Securities. Welcome to you. Just to comment off the Greg Metcalf musings, what takes them beyond the polite and the civilized into the realm of actually there are moves away from stocks because of perceptions versus we're all in on it because it's all about a yield story. So governance, well, you can keep your governance in a nice little red box, but we need our income, thank you very much. How does it play out?
Correct. Well, we saw the market shrug off that study today and the banks were still up. I think from a shareholder point of view, you want your banks to focus on profits and keep growing year on year. But from socially, banks not only have a banking license, but in Malcolm Turnbull's words, they also need to have a social license. They need to restore confidence and trust in the banking system so that customers are happy. And if they don't do that, eventually you're going to get more oversight on the industry, which may actually increase their costs as they have to comply with those greater controls. And it may also have a drag on their profits if they can't do some of the things that they could do before. So it is a concern for the banks, maybe a concern that's not going to have immediate impact on the market, but something that could be factored in over the medium term.
Do you get a sense that, this was prior to the election, that putting up the barricades saying no, no, no to an inquiry has the ring of we're ducking for cover? If we were so reformed as we say we are, we'd actually be quite open to scrutiny. We'd welcome the debate. We wouldn't resist at every turn. How is that strategically looking in the light of day as the dust settles off that?
Well, it's of no surprise that the banking industry didn't want that to happen. However, I think changing their culture is a positive thing. I think culture needs to be changed from the top, and the way it's going to change from the top is if the focus is not all on profits. Perhaps maybe remuneration measures based more on customer satisfaction, in a similar line to what Telstra did a few years ago, where they increased their measures in that area. And then if the focus is on customer satisfaction, leadership will start trickling down from the top to the bottom, and you'll see a shift in the way they go about their business.
Because in fairness, the likes of Ian River are making a lot of those customer scores in each presentation he gives. He's kind of got the David Thodey line down pat, much the same way that David Thodey used to make that association, to draw that link. So if that's the case, there's not a trickle-down occurring. Indeed, it's interesting you use that expression because it's one of the most derided economic notions, is it not? That the trickle-down would, result in anything other than what we are now claiming, which is that 99%. Anyway, that's a bit of a sidebar.
Well, that's true. Well, even if it doesn't actually achieve anything, the fact that the government is actually responding to the community's concerns is a good thing, because the people are voicing their concerns and the government's doing something about it. So at least they're doing what's in their control to improve the situation.
There was talk on Westpac today, and we just had it in one of our stories there, Anthony, about a shift away from being too overweight, in this case housing. Well, that's kind of the bank story writ large across the sector. Was that being slightly disingenuous to talk about lending to healthcare, to education? I mean, all the banks are doing this. What makes Westpac so in a class of its own on that score? Are you tracking that?
Yeah, so they're just stating the obvious. We've seen the mining boom. They've seen now that the mining boom's over. We've seen a construction sector that's really helped the Australian economy due to offshore investment and declining interest rates. But the cycles change all the time, and there's a lot of concerns now with a declining property outlook that we need to then go into some more lucrative parts of the economy, like the healthcare sector, education, retail. Those areas of the economy have to continue to improve to pick up the slack. And, they want to make sure that their customers are going to be sound in their repayments, that they're in growth industries, so that they don't have to increase their provision for doubtful debts. and they can keep getting very cheap sources of finance offshore. So they're just stating the obvious, but I don't think that that's going to change the bank's books overnight. We're talking making small inroads into that over time.
Because the way NAB's gone out on a limb and said we are wanting to be the small business go-to lender. As ANZ retreats from its Asian ops and kind of looks at options, such as they remain here, what do you suspect, what do you believe they might come forth with that's vaguely setting themselves apart? What could they go down the route of? Is the ag story, we're about to talk Bellamy's, is this kind of an area where they could be making some clear point of difference lending? How do you see that? Because they do that in New Zealand quite a bit.
It's all about risk management. Do you want to continue lending, or did you want to continue having relaxed lending standards to, energy companies or iron ore companies or coal companies in the event that things could turn south very quickly and that could increase your exposure to a declining sector? Or do you want to reduce your downside risk and start being more relaxed in terms of your credit to, high growth industries? And I think that it's more about that. What impact it's going to have on their books is debatable, and we'll find out as as time progresses. And you only have to look as far as Bellamy's to see the growth in those other areas of the economy, like the infant milk formula industry in Australia grew by 70% last year, and a lot of that was due to foreign investment. A lot of tourists coming from China that are very health conscious, buying our infant milk formula and sending it back to their home country, and also the free trade agreements that we have with China, allowing Bellamy's to sell directly to customers in China. Because that industry, we talk about the rise of the consumer. We talk about the rise of the middle class and the scares that they had a few years ago. That all falls very nicely in Bellamy's lap, and the banks would be very wary of that and continue supporting those industries.
Nice to talk. Thank you as always, Anthony. The call there from Atlantic Pacific Securities.